Hundreds of residents in the southern Saratov region staged protests against the local Romani community after one of its members was reportedly involved in a fatal car crash, local media reported. A 15-year-old moped rider was killed in a collision with a passenger vehicle on Tuesday morning in the village of Podlesnoye, located along the Volga River about 75 kilometers northeast of the city of Saratov. Law enforcement authorities arrested the 36-year-old driver of the vehicle, who was identified by local media as a member of the Romani community. Around 200 residents gathered in protest, demanding the eviction of local Roma and accusing them of antisocial behavior, including drug smuggling, disturbing the peace and driving without licenses, the Saratov-based outlet Vzglyad Info reported. "We're not nationalists, but that's how they behave," one protester told the outlet. Video shared by Vzglyad Info showed residents confronting police officers and voicing their frustrations. "We'll be happy if you kick them all out," one protester said. The head of the district, Dmitry Romanov, the district prosecutor, Nikolai Alkov, and the head of the Ministry of Internal Affairs, Dmitry Danshin, had to come to the meeting, which was attended by at least 200 villagers. The participants of the meeting reminded the government representatives that there have already been precedents when, after various types of emergencies, gypsies were evicted from populated areas, for example, in the Samara and Chelyabinsk regions. According to citizens, representatives of the nomadic ethnic group behave extremely provocatively and aggressively, and are accustomed to settling conflicts by attacking as a crowd. They earn money in an unclear way, settle 50 people in apartments, in which for some reason they are registered in such numbers, drive without a license, and have social guarantees in the form of various payments without any basis. District Prosecutor Alkov admonished the villagers and asked them not to break the law and not to resort to violence. They, in turn, promised to refrain from illegal actions, but demanded that law enforcement agencies be on the side of the indigenous residents of the village. Residents told the outlet that most of the Romani living in the village fled following the protest. The unrest comes less than a year after a murder in the Chelyabinsk region triggered riots and police raids targeting members of the Romani community there.
Как пацанята 12-13 лет рассекают здесь набитых шестерки, семерки. Вот смотрите, без документов, 16-17, ну сколько им там, 13 лет. Вот местные вам скажут. И все рассекают. И тут знаете, не знаете. Я местный, я вам скажу. Он едет, он все, он главный. Все стоят. Приедут они вечером, пацанят погоняли, молодежь местную, на велосипедах, на магазинах. Все. А этих ни одного не остановили. Почему?
Не знаю.
Так скажем, вы что-то совершили, вам вы гражданин. Я понимаю,
Three former US ambassadors to Romania have written that Russian President Vladimir Putin's failed attempt to manipulate the country's 2024 presidential election through digital warfare represents a new battleground for democratic sovereignty. In a Politico opinion piece, the retired diplomats argue that Romania's successful resistance offers a blueprint for defending Western democracies against authoritarian interference. Romania's presidential election on the 18th of May saw pro-European centrist Nicușor Dan defeat nationalist challenger George Simion 54% to 46%, marking a democratic victory after the previous November election was annulled due to Russian interference that had boosted pro-Russian candidate Călin Georgescu. Mark Gittenstein, Adrian Zuckerman and Jim Rosapep write that Putin spent millions of dollars attempting to install a pro-Russian president in Romania through what they characterize as a sophisticated social media manipulation campaign. The former ambassadors argue this represents a new type of warfare against democracy that eliminates the need to roll tanks into capitals. The diplomats contend that Putin's strategy involved boosting candidate Călin Georgescu from complete obscurity to capturing 21% of the vote in just 2 weeks through TikTok, Telegram and other platforms. They describe this social media blitzkrieg as a Leninist-style effort to destroy democracy in Romania, designed to undermine US, NATO and EU security interests. The former diplomats write that Romanian and Western intelligence services successfully uncovered what they call a stealth invasion of the country's electoral process. They argue that the discovery of serious violations of electoral law and foreign interference led to the Constitutional Court's extraordinary decision to annul the first round and order a complete do-over. According to the opinion piece, Georgescu violated Romanian law by claiming he neither raised campaign contributions nor incurred campaign expenses while benefiting from the multi-million-dollar Russian operation. The authors contend this exposed the candidate as having a malevolent benefactor in Putin. The retired diplomats write that when the second round was held, Romanian citizens responded to the crisis with clarity and courage, driving turnout from the average 51% to nearly 65%. They argue that voters chose the democratic pro-NATO path by a decisive 54% to 46% margin, effectively rejecting Putin's interference. The 3 former ambassadors reveal they had publicly urged Romanians to reject the Russia-backed candidate in what they describe as an unprecedented intervention. We couldn't silently stand by and allow the patently false Russia-driven propaganda to go unchallenged, they write, explaining their decision to issue an open letter with 4 other former US ambassadors. The opinion piece argues that Putin's approach evolved from his KGB background after failing to capture Kyiv militarily. The authors write that never far from his KGB roots, the Russian president realizes public opinion can be manipulated and shaped by political proxies and propaganda beholden to Russia's strongman. They contend this represents a long-standing Soviet strategy to destroy Western democracies from within, now deployed through social media platforms.